Hey, today I want to talk about the concept of overtraining, whether or not it exists, and if it does exist, I'll help you find out if you're doing it or not. So overtraining is the concept that if we lift too much in the gym, then it will become counterproductive. And not only will our gains slow down, but we might actually be going in reverse, actually getting weaker, or even getting injured. But by definition, this is something that very rarely happens. Most people in the gym are undertraining rather than overtraining. Most gym goers should think about how they can start training harder, because I'd say that 90% of people who go to the gym are undertraining. By a lot. But I definitely agree that there is a possibility that you can do too much. You know, you can never do too much of anything. But I don't think that there is a number to it. If you do this certain amount of sets per week, then you're overtraining. That doesn't make sense. Let's say that I say you should do 20 sets per week for the back. For some people that might be too little, but for some that might be too much. You know, one person's undertraining is one person's overtraining. So it differs from individual to individual. There is not a hard number to say that you're overtraining. And there are exercises that overtrain you more than others. For example, adding an extra set of leg curls might not mean too much, but adding an extra set of deadlifts is a lot, and some people can take more volume than others. But in general, the more advanced, the harder it is for you to overtrain yourself. As you get more advanced in lifting, you can get away with doing more, but that is a trap for beginners. Most beginners should do less. Beginners don't need to do a lot. And the people who are most overtrained are usually beginners. Like I said, most don't train hard enough, but there are a few that are very motivated, that train hard and want to do everything. And those ones are the ones who are overtrained. Those people will become great in the future, but right now they should take it slow. You don't need to train for a long time as a beginner. You don't need to do much. You don't even need to train to failure, really. And to make sure that you don't overtrain yourself, you should have a body part split. That means that you shouldn't train a muscle group more than 2 or 3 times a week. You can experiment with training a muscle more once you become more advanced, but as a beginner you don't need to have such a high frequency. And you shouldn't have things like chest days where you do 5 different chest exercises. Just have a body part split like full body, upper, lower, or push-pull legs, even though I don't think that push-pull legs is as good as those. But to make sure that you're not overtraining, just listen to your body. If you feel mentally fatigued, you might be overtraining, or if you feel beat up. If you feel pain, that's a big one. If you're constantly sore, you know, you can be sore when you first start a new routine, but if you're constantly sore every time you work out, you might be overtraining. Or if you don't feel rested, if you come into the session and you still don't feel like you're fully recovered, then you're overtraining. And you can also auto-regulate your program. You know, if you don't sleep too well, then there's a higher chance for you to be overtraining, because your body won't be able to recover as well. You know, just some things to think about. But those things come with experience. The more you advance, the more you'll be able to assess if you're overtraining or not. And if you are overtraining at some point in your career, it's not that bad. At some point it will go away. It only gets bad if you start getting injured, but then it will be obvious that you've been overtraining. But those are my thoughts on overtraining. Overall, this is not something that many people should worry about, especially more advanced lifters. But some beginners definitely deal with this problem, although it tends to go away on its own. And I think that overtraining could be a pretty useful tool, because I think that you should be at the very edge of overtraining. That's where you'll make the most gains without actually overtraining. When you can stress your muscles the most without all the diminishing returns. I think that's the spot where everybody should be.